The signal came on a Tuesday morning. Ambassador Tajin was drinking his morning tea when the alarm sounded. He had 6 eyes and all of them rolled in annoyance. The Galactic Council station rarely had emergencies. In fact, nothing interesting had happened in thousands of years. He walked to the command center, his crystalline skin catching the light. Other council members were already there, looking at the main screen with confused expressions. "What is this?" Tajin asked. "A signal, sir," the technician replied. "Coming from the outer veil." The room went quiet. Nobody had heard anything from the outer veil in hundreds of thousands of years. That region of space was dead, empty, and forbidden. "That's impossible," Tajin said. "Nothing lives out there." The technician played the signal. It was old, using frequencies that modern ships hadn't used in ages. The sound filled the room, strange and ancient. In the back of the room, an elderly scholar named Mirai stood up suddenly. Her hands were shaking. She was a Quilxian, covered in soft fur that had turned gray with age. "I know this signal," she said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. Tajin frowned. "Explain." Mirai walked closer to the screen. "I've studied the old records. The really old ones. This frequency pattern was used by only one species." She paused. "The humans." Several council members laughed. Tajin smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "The humans are extinct, historian. They died out centuries ago. We exiled them 800,000 years ago," Mirai said firmly. "We sent them beyond the outer veil and told ourselves they would die. But we never confirmed it, because nothing survives out there," Tajin replied. "The outer veil is hostile space. No resources, no planets, nothing but empty darkness." "Then explain the signal," Mirai challenged. Tajin waved his hand dismissively. "It's probably an old probe, still broadcasting after all this time. Nothing to worry about." But he still sent Captain Do-hyun to investigate. Do-hyun was the commander of the defense fleet stationed at the Veil boundary. He was a soldier, tough and careful. His species had 4 arms, which made him excellent at controlling multiple weapons at once. When Do-hyun received his orders, he gathered his crew. They took 3 ships toward the source of the signal. The journey took 2 days. As they got closer, the signal got stronger. "Captain," his sensor officer called out, "I'm detecting something." "What is it?" "Unknown. It's not showing up clearly on our scans, like something is absorbing our sensor beams." Do-hyun felt a chill run through his body. In his many years as a soldier, he had learned to trust his instincts. Right now his instincts were screaming danger. "Shields up," he ordered. "Weapons ready." They moved forward slowly. Then suddenly it appeared in front of them. A ship. But not like any ship they had ever seen. It was smooth and black, shaped like a teardrop. No visible engines. No weapons they could see. It just floated there, silent and still. "What is that?" someone whispered. Before anyone could answer, the signal changed. This time it wasn't just noise. It was a message. The computer translated it into text on the screen. 3 words appeared, written in ancient English. "We are back." The message repeated every 12 hours. Each time those same 3 words. No explanation, no demands, just a simple statement of fact. Back at the council station, Mirai spent the next day in the archives. She pulled up every file she could find about humanity's exile. Most of the records were sealed, marked as classified. But she had spent her whole life studying history. She knew how to find hidden information. What she found terrified her. The humans hadn't been exiled because they were violent. Yes, they fought wars, but so did every species. The real reason was different. The humans had discovered something. They had found evidence of ancient technology, older than the council itself. They had started asking dangerous questions about where the council's founders really came from. The council had been afraid. So they sent humanity away, hoping the outer veil would kill them. But now they were back. Mirai tried to tell Ambassador Tajin about her findings, but he refused to listen. "Old history," he said. "Whatever happened then doesn't matter now. The humans are gone." "They're not gone," Mirai insisted. "They're right outside our door waiting." "Waiting for what?" Mirai looked at him with sad eyes. "For us to invite them in." The signal continued day after day. "We are back. We are back. We are back." And the galaxy held its breath, wondering what would happen when the council finally answered. The black ship moved forward. Captain Do-hyun watched it approach the boundary station. His 4 hands gripped the armrests of his chair. Around him his crew was tense and ready. They're requesting permission to dock, his communications officer said. Do-hyun thought carefully. Protocol said he should refuse. But curiosity was stronger than protocol. Grant permission. But keep all weapons locked on them. The ship docked smoothly without any problems. It connected to the station airlock as if it had done this 1,000 times before. Do-hyun gathered a security team and went to meet their visitors. The airlock door opened. A woman stepped out. She was human, exactly like the pictures in the old history files. 2 legs, 2 arms, brown skin, dark hair pulled back in a simple style. She wore a black uniform with no decorations or medals. But something was different about her. The way she moved was too smooth, too perfect. Her eyes seemed to take in everything at once, like she was seeing and understanding things faster than should be possible. "I am Ambassador Hyejin," she said in perfect galactic common. Her voice was calm and friendly. "I come on behalf of humanity." Behind her, another human emerged. This one was different. "Commander Ji-won," she introduced herself. She was silent and watchful. Under her skin, Do-hyun could see faint glowing lines like circuits running through her body. Do-hyun led them to a meeting room. On the way, he noticed that both humans moved with incredible grace. They didn't stumble or hesitate. Every step was deliberate and efficient. In the meeting room, a hologram of Ambassador Taejin appeared. His 6 eyes narrowed as he looked at the humans. "This is unexpected," he said. "We thought your species was extinct." "We survived," Hyejin replied simply. "The outer veil was difficult, but we adapted." "Why have you returned?" Taejin asked. "We wish to rejoin the Galactic Council," Hyejin said. "As equal members," Taejin laughed. It was not a kind laugh. "Equal members? You were exiled for good reason. Your species was too violent, too unpredictable. One species does not simply demand equality with 23 others." Other council members appeared as holograms around the table. They all seemed amused by the request. One of them, a floating gas creature, made a sound like wind through trees. It was laughing. "You have nothing to offer us," Taejin continued. "You come from a wasteland with a single ship. What makes you think you deserve a seat at our table?" Hyejin's expression didn't change. She remained calm and patient. "We understand your concern. Perhaps we should prove ourselves first." "Prove yourselves?" Taejin raised one eyebrow. "How?" "Give us a task," Hyejin said. "Any problem the council faces? Let us solve it. If we succeed, you will consider our request seriously." Taejin smiled cruelly. He looked at the other council members. They nodded and whispered among themselves. Finally, he turned back to Hyejin. "Very well," he said. "There's a region called the Contested Zone. 3 of our member species have been fighting over it for decades. Ships clash there almost daily. Mediators have tried and failed to solve this dispute. If you can bring peace to the Contested Zone, we will discuss your request." "How long do we have?" Hyejin asked. Taejin's smile grew wider. 48 hours. The other council members laughed again. 48 hours to solve a problem that had lasted decades. It was impossible. Taejin was clearly making fun of them, but Hyejin simply nodded. "Acceptable. We will return in 48 hours with your peace treaty." She and Commander Ji-won stood up and walked back to their ship. Do-hyun escorted them, his mind racing with questions. When they reached the airlock, he couldn't stop himself from asking. "How will you do it?" he asked quietly. "The Contested Zone has been a battlefield for years." Hyejin turned to look at him. Her eyes were kind but strange. "Captain, your council made a mistake 800,000 years ago. They thought that sending us into darkness would destroy us. They were wrong. What happened out there?" Do-hyun asked. "We learned," Hyejin replied. "We learned things your council cannot imagine. The outer veil was not empty. It held secrets, and we found them all." She paused at the airlock door. "The council should understand something important. We did not come here to beg. We came here to offer you one last chance to do the right thing." "And if they refuse?" Do-hyun asked. Though he wasn't sure he wanted to know the answer, Commander Ji-won spoke for the first time. Her voice was cold and hard. "Then humanity will remember who our friends are and who our enemies were." The 2 humans entered their ship. The airlock closed. Moments later, the black ship detached from the station and glided away into space, heading toward the Contested Zone. Do-hyun stood there for a long time, staring at the empty space where the ship had been. Something had changed. He could feel it in his bones. The humans were back, and nothing would ever be the same again. 46 hours had passed. Ambassador Tajin sat in his office feeling pleased with himself. He had given the humans an impossible task. Soon they would return defeated and embarrassed. Then he could send them back to the outer veil where they belonged. His assistant rushed in looking shocked. "Sir, you need to see this." Tajin followed him to the command center. Every screen showed the same thing, the contested zone. But something was wrong. Actually, something was very right. The zone was completely silent. "Where are the patrol ships?" Tajin demanded. "They've all withdrawn, sir," the technician replied. "All 3 species have pulled back to their home systems." "That's impossible. They've been fighting for decades." "There's more, sir. All 3 governments have signed a treaty. They're calling it the Contested Zone Peace Accord." Tajin felt his blood run cold. "Show me the treaty." The document appeared on the screen. It was simple and clear. The 3 species had agreed to share the zone equally. They had also agreed to let human ships patrol the area to keep the peace. All 3 leaders had signed it. How did they do this? Tajin whispered. Historian Mirai entered the command center. She had been monitoring the situation closely. "I've been talking to contacts in those 3 governments," she said. "They all tell the same story." "What story?" Tajin asked. "A human fleet entered the contested zone," Mirai explained. "Not 1 ship, a fleet. 12 vessels, all like the black ship we saw. They didn't attack anyone. They didn't threaten anyone. They simply demonstrated their capabilities." "What capabilities?" Mirai pulled up a report. "The humans showed them star maps. Not our star maps. Better ones. They revealed resources in the contested zone that our sensors never detected. Minerals worth fortunes. Energy sources we can't even identify." Suddenly, the 3 species realized they were fighting over scraps while the real treasure was hidden underneath. "That still doesn't explain the treaty," Tajin said. "The humans made them an offer," Mirai continued. "They would help extract these resources using their advanced technology. In exchange, the 3 species would stop fighting and share equally. They also showed them what would happen if they refused." "They threatened them?" "No, they demonstrated. One of the human ships faced off against an entire battle group. 50 warships against 1. The human ship didn't fire a single weapon. It simply avoided every attack. For 3 hours, 50 ships tried to hit 1 target and failed completely. Every missile missed. Every energy beam curved around it. The human ship moved like water, flowing through space in ways our physics says shouldn't be possible." Tajin sat down heavily. "What kind of technology is this?" "I've been researching that," Mirai said quietly. "I think I know." The outer veil wasn't empty. Ancient records mention something called the Precursors, a civilization that existed before the Council, before any of our species evolved. They were the first to achieve space travel, the first to develop advanced technology. "That's a myth," Tajin said, but his voice lacked confidence. "Is it? The Council exiled humanity because they were asking questions about these precursors, and now they've returned with technology that surpasses ours by centuries, maybe thousands of years." At that moment, the black ship appeared again at the boundary station. Ambassador Hyejin requested another meeting with the Council. This time, Tajin met with her in person. He didn't want to risk looking weak through a hologram. The entire Council gathered in the Great Chamber, all 23 species represented. Hyejin walked in calmly, followed by Commander Jiwon. Behind them came another human, an older man with scars on his face and hard eyes. This was Admiral Seojun, the one who had led the fleet into the contested zone. "We have completed the task you set for us," Hyejin said. "The contested zone is now at peace." "You tricked them," Tajin accused. "You bribed them with promises of resources." "We showed them the truth," Hyejin replied. "The resources were always there. Your technology simply couldn't detect them. We offered to help them access what was rightfully theirs." "That's not a trick. That's cooperation. What do you really want?" Tajin demanded. "Why come back after all this time?" Hyejin's expression grew serious. "We want what you wanted 800,000 years ago. Justice. Your council judged us without understanding us. You exiled us without giving us a chance to defend ourselves. You tried to erase us from history." "You were dangerous," Tajin said. "We were curious," Hyejin corrected. "We asked questions you didn't want to answer. So you sent us away, hoping we would die. Instead, we found the answers ourselves." Admiral Seojin spoke up, his voice rough and tired. "The Council should understand something. We didn't come back for revenge. We came back because this is our galaxy too. We have just as much right to be here as any of you. And if we refuse to let you rejoin? Another council member asked. Yejin smiled sadly. Then we will build our own council, and species who want real advancement, real cooperation, will choose to join us instead of you. The chamber fell silent. Everyone understood what she meant. The humans weren't threatening war. They were offering competition. And based on what they had just demonstrated, it was competition the council would lose. Historian Mirai couldn't sleep. She lay in her quarters, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything she had learned. The humans were back, more powerful than anyone imagined. But why? What had really happened in the Outer Veil? She got up and went to her office. Her assistant, Director Yunji, was already there, working late. Unji was young for an archivist, but brilliant. She had been Mirai's student years ago. You couldn't sleep either. Mirai asked. Unji shook her head. I keep thinking about what you said. About the precursors. So I started searching the deep archives. The really old files that nobody looks at anymore. Did you find anything? Yes, and it scared me. Yunji pulled up a file on her screen. This is from 800,000 years ago, right before humanity was exiled. It's marked top secret. Mirai leaned closer to read. The document was a report from the Council's Science Division. It talked about human researchers who had discovered something strange in deep space. Ruins, ancient structures that predated any known civilization. The humans found precursor sites. Mirai breathed. There's more, Yunji said. She opened another file. The humans had a theory. They believed that the Council's founders didn't evolve naturally. They thought we were created by the precursors, modified and guided to build civilization. That's heresy, Mirai said automatically. Then she paused. But is it true? I don't know. But the Council at the time didn't want anyone asking these questions. Look at this next part. The next document made Mirai's blood freeze. It was an order from the Council leadership. They had decided to exile humanity, not because they were violent, but because they were too curious. The humans were getting too close to forbidden knowledge. They sent them to the Outer Veil deliberately, Mirai said slowly. They knew something was out there. Yunji nodded. The Outer Veil was quarantined. Not because it was empty, but because it held precursor ruins, major ones. The Council sealed it off and hoped everyone would forget. And they sent humanity right into it, Mirai finished. They thought the humans would die out there and the secret would die with them. Instead, the humans found everything, Yunji said. They found the ruins. They learned the technology. They became the inheritors of the precursors. Mirai sat down heavily. We need to tell the Council. Are you sure? This information could cause panic. It contradicts everything we teach about our history. The truth needs to come out, Mirai insisted. The Council made a terrible mistake. If we want to make peace with humanity, we need to acknowledge what really happened. They prepared a full report and requested an emergency meeting with Ambassador Taejin. He refused to see them at first, but Mirai was persistent. Finally, he agreed. Mirai presented everything they had found. The documents, the evidence, the truth about humanity's exile. Taejin listened with growing anger. This is classified information, he said coldly. You had no right to access it. The people have a right to know the truth, Mirai argued. The truth would destroy the Council's authority, Taejin snapped. For 800,000 years we have maintained order. We have kept the peace. This information would undermine everything. Order built on lies is not real order, Mirai said. Taejin stood up. You are relieved of your duties, Historian Mirai. You and Director Yunji are under arrest for accessing classified materials and spreading sedition. Guards came to take them away. But Mirai had expected this. Before coming to the meeting, she had copied all the files. She had sent them to contacts throughout the Council, journalists and scholars she trusted. By the time she and Yunji were locked in detention cells, the information was already spreading. News feeds across the galaxy started reporting the story. The Council's secret was out. People were shocked. Some refused to believe it. Others were angry. Many species started questioning their own leaders. If the Council had lied about humanity, what else had they lied about? Captain Do-Yun heard the news on his ship. He sat in his quarters reading through the leaked documents. Everything made sense now. The humans' technology, their confidence, their return. They weren't invaders. They were victims who had survived and grown strong. He made a decision. He sent a private message to Ambassador Heejin on her ship. The message was simple: I believe you. Many of us do. Across council space, other officers and officials were making similar decisions. The unity of the council began to crack. Some species supported Tejan, wanting to maintain the old order. Others sided with humanity, demanding change and honesty. Ambassador Tejan called another emergency council session. His face appeared on screens throughout the galaxy. He looked tired and angry. The documents leaked by historian Mirai are fake, he declared. They are human propaganda designed to divide us. We must stand together against this threat. But few believed him. Too many people had verified the documents. The files had the council's own authentication codes. The truth was undeniable. In her cell, Mirai watched the news feeds. She saw the galaxy tearing itself apart over the revelation. She felt sad but also hopeful. Sometimes she thought, you have to break something completely before you can rebuild it properly. The question now was whether the council would break completely or find a way to transform into something better. And the answer would depend on what humanity chose to do next. The council chamber was full for the first time in decades. All 23 species had sent their representatives. The great circular room buzzed with angry voices. Some wanted war with humanity. Others wanted peace. Everyone had an opinion and nobody was listening to anyone else. Ambassador Taijin stood at the center podium trying to maintain control. His 6 eyes darted from one representative to another. His authority was slipping away. Order, he shouted. We must have order. Slowly the room quieted down, but the tension remained thick in the air. We face a crisis, Taijin said. The humans have returned with advanced technology. They have spread lies about our history. They seek to divide us and weaken our unity. They're not lies, a voice called out. It was Admiral Kyungmin, the military commander. She stood up from her seat. I've reviewed the documents. They're authentic. We did exile humanity unjustly. That was 800,000 years ago, Taijin argued. None of us were alive then. We cannot be held responsible for ancient decisions. But we can choose how we respond now, Kyungmin replied. We can acknowledge the past and try to make things right. Or we can repeat the same mistakes. You speak of appeasement, another representative sneered. The humans have one ship. We have fleets. If they pose a threat, we should eliminate them before they grow stronger. One ship? Kyungmin laughed bitterly. You think they only have one ship? They demonstrated their power in the contested zone. We're not facing a single vessel. We're facing a civilization that has had 800,000 years to advance without any limitations. At that moment, the chamber doors opened. Ambassador Heejin walked in, followed by Commander Jiwon and Admiral Seojin. They had not been invited, but nobody tried to stop them. Taijin's face turned dark. You have no right to be here. We have every right, Heejin replied calmly. This council is deciding our fate. We deserve to speak. Then speak, Admiral Kyungmin said. Tell us what humanity wants. Heejin walked to the center of the room. She looked at each representative in turn. We want to come home, she said simply. We want to rejoin the galactic community as equal members. We want a seat on this council with the same voting rights as everyone else. Impossible, Taijin said. You cannot simply demand equality. We're not demanding, Heejin corrected. We're offering you a choice. Accept us as equals or we will establish our own sphere of influence. Other species will be free to choose between your council and ours. You threaten us? Taijin's voice rose in anger. No, Admiral Sojin said quietly. We offer competition. You exiled us because you feared our questions. Now we return with answers. Species who value knowledge and progress will naturally gravitate toward us, unless you give them a reason to stay with you. Taijin slammed his hand on the podium. This is outrageous. Admiral Kyungmin, prepare the fleet. We will not negotiate with these invaders. Kyungmin didn't move. No, Ambassador. I will not order an attack that we cannot win. You refuse a direct order? I refuse a suicide mission, Kyungmin replied. I've studied the reports from the contested zone. The humans have technology far beyond ours. Starting a war would only result in our destruction. Coward, Taijin spat. I'm a realist, Kyungmin said coldly. And as of this moment, I'm calling for a vote of no confidence in your leadership. The chamber erupted into chaos again. Representatives shouted and argued. 12 species stood with Taijin, wanting to reject humanity. 11 stood with Kyungmin, wanting to negotiate. The council was split perfectly down the middle. Commander Jiwon stepped forward. She raised her hand and suddenly every screen in the chamber came alive with data. Schematics appeared showing the council station's defensive systems. What is this? Someone asked. Your security systems, G1 said. All of them. Weapons, shields, communications. We've been monitoring them since we arrived. Actually, we've been inside your systems for the past week. Horror spread across the room. You hacked us? Tejan breathed. We didn't hack anything, G1 replied. Your security is based on precursor architecture. We understand it better than you do. We could disable every defense you have with a thought. But we won't. We're not here to conquer. We're here to talk. You're blackmailing us, Tejan accused. We're showing you reality, Hyejin said. You cannot fight us and win. But we don't want to fight. We want peace. We want cooperation. But it must be as equals. A young representative named Nari stood up. She was Quilxian like Mireille with bright eyes and idealistic energy. I vote to negotiate with humanity. Our species made mistakes in the past. This is our chance to correct them. One by one, other representatives began to speak. The balance shifted. More species sided with peace than war. Tejan watched his support crumble. You're all fools, he said bitterly. You're inviting the enemy into our home. They were never our enemy, Kyungmin said. We made them our enemy by exiling them. Now we have a chance to fix that mistake. But Tejan refused to accept defeat. If the council wouldn't act, he would. He left the chamber and went straight to his personal communications room. There he sent a secret message to the most loyal fleet commanders. The message was simple. Destroy the human ship. Do it now before this weakness spreads further. He didn't realize that Commander Jiwan was telling the truth. Every communication in the station was being monitored. The humans knew exactly what he had done. Captain Dohyun received the secret order from Ambassador Taijin at Zoro 300 hours. He stared at the message on his screen. Destroy the human ship. Use all necessary force. Act immediately. His four hands clenched into fists. He had been a loyal soldier for 50 years. He had always followed orders without question. But this order felt wrong. He thought about the humans he had met. Ambassador Hyejin's calm wisdom. Commander Jiwan's quiet strength. They hadn't threatened anyone. They had only asked for fairness, but orders were orders. Dohyun called his command staff together. 50 warships prepared for battle. They formed up in attack formation and moved toward the human vessel. The black ship sat motionless in space, waiting. Target locked, his weapons officer reported. Dohyun hesitated. Something about this felt like a trap. The humans had shown incredible technology. Would they really leave themselves vulnerable? Sir, the weapons officer asked. Should we fire? Before Dohyun could answer, every screen on his ship changed. A message appeared, broadcast on all frequencies. It was from Admiral Seojin. Captain Dohyun, we know about Ambassador Taejin's illegal order. We do not wish to harm you or your crews. However, we will defend ourselves. Any weapon fired at our ship will be redirected to its point of origin. Your missiles will hit your own ships. Your energy beams will burn your own hulls. Choose wisely. Dohyun's blood ran cold. Could they really do that? Redirect weapons? It seemed impossible. But then again, everything about the humans seemed impossible. All ships halt attack, he ordered. Nobody fires until I give the command. But 5 ships were too far ahead. They had already locked their missiles and couldn't stop the launch sequence in time. 20 missiles streaked toward the human ship. Dohyun watched in horror as the impossible happened. The missiles curved in space. They bent in ways that violated every law of physics he knew. Instead of hitting the human ship, they turned completely around and flew back toward the ships that launched them. Evasive maneuvers. The captains of those ships screamed. But it was too late. The missiles struck true. 5 warships exploded in brilliant flashes of light. The human ship sat unchanged, not even scratched, not even moved. All ships full retreat, Dohyun ordered. His voice shook. Return to base immediately. The remaining 45 ships pulled back. Nobody argued. Nobody questioned. They had all seen what happened. Fighting the humans was suicide. The entire galaxy watched. The attack had been broadcast on every news feed. Everyone saw the Council fleet destroyed by their own weapons. Everyone saw humanity's terrifying power. Ambassador Taejin's authority collapsed instantly. His own government called him back home to face charges. The species that had supported him began to distance themselves. Nobody wanted to be associated with his failure. Admiral Kyungmin took temporary control of the Council. Her first act was to release historian Mirai and director Yunji from detention. Her second act was to formally apologize to humanity on behalf of the council. Representative Nari became Kyungmin's closest advisor. Together they began reaching out to the human delegation, trying to arrange real peace talks. But not everyone was happy with this direction. 12 species still believed that humanity was too dangerous to accept. They formed a coalition, arguing that the council should prepare for inevitable war. The galaxy teetered on the edge of civil war. Species that had been allies for millennia now eyed each other with suspicion. Trade agreements fell apart. Defense pacts were questioned. Everything was falling into chaos. Through it all, the humans remained quiet. They didn't interfere. They didn't take sides. They simply waited in their black ship, watching the council tear itself apart. Captain Do-hyun requested a private meeting with Ambassador Hye-jin. She agreed. They met in a neutral space, just the two of them. "You could have destroyed us all," Do-hyun said. "Why didn't you?" "Because destruction is easy," Hye-jin replied. "Building something better is hard. We spent 800,000 years learning how to destroy. We don't want to use those lessons. We want to move beyond them." "The council is breaking apart," Do-hyun said. "Species that were friends are becoming enemies. All because of your return." "No," Hye-jin corrected gently. "The council was already broken. It was built on lies and fear. We just exposed the cracks that were always there. Now those cracks can be repaired properly, or the whole structure can fall and be rebuilt better. Which do you prefer?" "We prefer whatever creates the most good for the most people," Hye-jin said. "If the council can reform itself and become honest and fair, we will gladly rejoin it. If not, we will build something new. Either way, we will not compromise on equality and justice." Do-hyun looked at her with new understanding. "You really don't want war, do you?" "War is waste," Hye-jin said. "We learned that lesson long ago. In the Outer Veil, we had no one to fight but ourselves. We discovered that cooperation achieves far more than conflict." "How many humans are out there?" Do-hyun asked. "Beyond the Veil?" Hye-jin smiled. "Billions. Spread across thousands of worlds. And not just humans. We found other species out there. Other exiles. Other refugees. We built something beautiful in the darkness. And now we want to share it with the galaxy, if the galaxy will accept us." Do-hyun made a decision. He had been a soldier all his life, but maybe it was time to be something else. "I'm resigning my commission," he said. "I want to help bridge the gap between humanity and the council. Will you accept me?" Hye-jin extended her hand. "Welcome home, Captain. Or should I say, Ambassador Do-hyun." He took her hand. It felt like shaking hands with the future. 6 months had passed since the failed attack. The galaxy looked very different now. The old council structure had been dismantled. Ambassador Taejin had been sent into exile, ironically to a remote world where he could think about the consequences of his actions. Admiral Kyungmin had been elected as the new chancellor. Representative Nari served as her deputy, bringing fresh ideas and youthful energy to the government. Together, they began the difficult work of rebuilding. The council chamber had been redesigned. Instead of one central podium where a single leader stood, there was now a circular table. Every species had an equal seat. No one sat higher than anyone else. Today was special. Today, humanity would officially rejoin the galactic community. Ambassador Hye-jin entered the chamber, walking slowly so everyone could see her. Behind her came dozens of other humans representing the vast civilization that had grown beyond the Outer Veil. But they weren't alone. With them came representatives of other species, beings that the council had never seen before. These were the other exiles, the other refugees who had fled or been forced into the Outer Veil over the millennia. The council members stared in shock. They had thought the Outer Veil was empty. Instead, it had become home to an entire hidden civilization. Chancellor Kyungmin stood and bowed respectfully. "Ambassador Hye-jin, on behalf of the reformed Galactic Council, I formally invite humanity to take its place among us as an equal member." Hye-jin bowed in return. "We accept. But first we must acknowledge the past." Historian Mirai stepped forward. She had been working for months on a new history of the council, one that told the truth about the exile and everything that followed. Now she presented it to the assembly. 800,000 years ago, the council made a terrible mistake, Mirai said. Her voice was strong despite her age. "We exiled humanity not because they were violent, But because they asked questions we feared, we sent them to die. Instead, they thrived. This history must never be forgotten or repeated. The new history was accepted unanimously. It would be taught in every school across council space. Future generations would know the truth. Then came the moment everyone was waiting for. Hijin approached the empty seat that had been prepared for humanity. But she didn't sit down immediately. Instead, she turned to face the entire assembly. "We return not for revenge," she said. "We return to share what we learned." In the darkness of the outer veil, we discovered the ruins of the precursors. We learned their technology. But more importantly, we learned their mistakes. She gestured to the strange aliens who had entered with her. The precursors built a great civilization. They had incredible power. But they forgot one simple truth. Diversity makes us stronger. They tried to create unity by making everyone the same. It destroyed them. "We found others in the veil," Hyejin continued. "Species that had been exiled, forgotten, abandoned. Each one had different strengths. Together, we became stronger than any of us could be alone. This is what we offer the Council. Not dominance, partnership." Admiral Seojin stood next to her. "Our technology will be shared freely with all Council members. No secrets. No advantages. We rise together or we fall apart." The Council members looked at each other in amazement. They had expected demands. Instead, humanity was offering gifts. Director Yunji brought forward the first piece of precursor technology to be shared. It was a medical device that could cure diseases the Council had struggled with for centuries. "This is just the beginning," she said. "We have so much more to offer," Commander G1 added, "but we ask something in return. Not payment, not control, just honesty. No more secrets, no more fear. If we're going to build a better future, we must do it together, with open hearts and open minds." Ambassador Do Hyun, now representing a coalition of species who wanted change, stood and spoke. The old council ruled through fear and hierarchy. The new council will lead through cooperation and equality. This is not just about humans returning. This is about all of us becoming something better. Chancellor Kyung-min raised her hand. "All in favor of these principles?" Every hand went up. Even the species who had opposed humanity voted yes. They had seen the alternative. They had seen what happened when you chose pride over wisdom. Hyejin finally sat down in humanity's seat. Around the table, 24 species now sat together. But soon there would be more. The species from the outer veil would join. Others who had remained neutral would come forward. The council would grow not through conquest, but through invitation. Historian Mirai watched from the gallery, tears in her old eyes. She had spent her life studying the past. Now she was witnessing the birth of a better future. That evening, Hyejin stood on an observation deck looking out at the stars. Captain Do-hyun joined her. "Do you think it will work?" he asked. "Can we really build a better council?" "I don't know," Hyejin admitted. "But we have to try. 800,000 years ago, the council tried to erase humanity. They sent us into darkness, hoping we would disappear. Instead, we turned that darkness into light. And now you've brought that light back," Do-hyun said. Hyejin smiled. "We all bring light, Captain. Humans, Vreldani, Quilkshin, every species. That's the lesson we learned. Alone in the dark, we're vulnerable. Together, we can illuminate the entire galaxy." She looked out at the stars, each one representing a world, a civilization, a story. The old council tried to control everything through fear. The new council will succeed through trust. That's our greatest technology, not ships or weapons or medical devices. Trust. "It's a risk," Do-hyun said. "Everything worth doing is a risk," Hyejin replied. "But we have 800,000 years of experience surviving impossible odds. We can handle this." In the distance, ships from dozens of species flew together in formation, not as a military fleet but as a symbol of unity. Humans and aliens, old members and new, all working together. The exile was over. The return was complete. And the future was just beginning.